Well, Dee, it looks like some of our listeners read to the end of our newsletter and noticed that we have an actual bona fide full length episode of the podcast on YouTube with us.
Yes, with our faces. So it's a new feature.
It is, but now we got to look nice when we record. You look nicer than me.
No, I don't. I've got to speak to a group today, so that's why. So I took a shower. Let's go.
Ditto. Okay. Well, you're starting it this week, so go for it.
Oh, I guess I should go. Welcome to the Garden Angelus, where we chat about flowers, veggies, and all the best dirt. I am Dee Nash from Guthrie, Oklahoma, where I've already downsized my garden, so we need to update that.
We do. And I'm Carol Michael from Indianapolis, Indiana. I have a suburban garden measured in square feet. It's about a third of an acre.
And we are Garden Angelus because we love gardening and we want you to love it too.
Yes, we do. And we aren't afraid to tell all of our gardening secrets, the good, the bad, and even the ugly. But that's enough about us. So let's move on to this week's episode. Hello, Dee.
Good morning, Carol. Wow, that's a lot of notes. What have you been doing in your garden?
So, Dee.
Everybody grab a cup of tea. It's going to be a while.
So, Dee, right after we hung up last Friday from recording, and we are recording on Friday, March the 14th,
yep.
I texted back and forth with the mom of the greenhouse owner, and she says, we're opening to the public tomorrow. Zip, zip, zip. I ran down there in my truck, had to put air in the tires, got flats of violas and pansies, and then I kind of let them sit over the weekend because it was still chilly. But Sunday afternoon was beautiful, and I had all but one flat potted up in the front and in the back. And then on Tuesday, I went back and I got alyssum and snapdragons to put at the end of the vegetable garden rows, and accidentally bought another flat of pansies, as one does. So I got all those planted out on Wednesday, and then yesterday, Thursday, I pulled out all the stuff from the patio under the tarp, which wasn't as waterproof as I thought, but at least I didn't find any like weird critters or anything, or scat or anything gross like that. So
that's
put all that
good.
stuff out. Yeah, that's always good. This morning I ran around like a little bee and took pictures of all the flowers for Garden Bloggers Bloom Day. There are lots of them. And in the midst of all that, I actually spoke to master gardeners on Wednesday evening about violas.
Gracious, you have been busy.
Yeah. Every day was in the 70s, Dee, from Monday on. I mean, and today as well. It's just like, boom, spring.
Yeah.
How about your garden?
We're going to have spring early too. And on top of that, it's like today, the wind, that's why my voice sounds funny. The wind is just blowing like crazy. They say 80-mile-an-hour winds today. So we all need to be fire aware. I hope people are. And then, of course, I'm pretty safe, I think, because everything around me burned down. So
exactly.
I'm pretty good. That's sad. Anyway, in my garden, I think it's going to be a dry spring and a warm spring, because where it was in the 70s in your world, it was in the 80s in mine.
That's too hot.
That's too hot for spring. So I sowed more seeds for various flowers in the greenhouse and kept checking on the ones that were in there, because if it's 80s outside, it is very warm in the greenhouse. So I have to keep them watered every day. I'm keeping the ones watered down in the basement too. I don't know why I'm moving my hands, like people know greenhouse is that way, basement's that way. So been running back and forth. I bought more blue pansies at terracotta.
Yay!
Yep. They didn't have pansies before, but I guess enough of us were like, where are the pansies? And so they got some in. And they had blue, white, yellow. And guess what? I needed blue, so I bought blue. And then
Wait a minute. Did they have the little faces, or are they plain blue?
These were the plain clear blue.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I have both. I have the faces in my pots out front, which that's part of what I did this week too. I planted my front pots with hellebores and pansies, and they were the ones with the big faces. And they're blue and white. Oh gosh, they're so pretty. I don't know the variety because they just came in big pots and I pulled them apart. Then let's see, what else did I do? I did buy even though I kept cautioning people not to, I bought pepper plants at Terracotta because they had
You
one I
bad girl.
wanted. Well, I put them in my greenhouse. They just
Yeah,
sit
yeah.
there.
Okay, that's fine.
It's no different than me starting the seeds. And then let's see. Okay, I told you I planted my front pots and oh, I put oxalis. I found some oxalis
Uh-huh.
at the nursery, which they don't always have it. And so I put it in there too in the front. It's really pretty.
You
And
know
then
what,
let's
Dee? On the oxalis, I had 3 pots of it that I bought at the greenhouse last spring,
yeah.
and I threw those into the garage to overwinter to see if they would. I mean, this looks like nothing, but I might pull those out now that you mention it, add a little
Worth a
water and
try.
see if something comes up, or dig around and see if it's all dried up in there. Thanks for the reminder.
These you're
Carry on.
welcome. You're welcome. Lowe's had it here, just so people know. And then last night I went to Select Seeds and I bought more pelargoniums.
How'd that happen, Dee? I thought
It's your
I'd bought
fault.
them out. It's my
It's your
fault.
fault.
Yes, of course it's my
Because
fault.
I hadn't looked at them, and then I'm,
Uh,
oh, I
and then
gotta
I'm
have
like,
them.
what do you think of this one, Dee? And what do you think of this one, Dee? And what do you think of this one?
So Dee bought a bunch of them. I think, and then I dreamed early this morning that I need to put my theater in a new spot. So
Okay.
I'm going to put it on because I don't have shade at all where I used to because of the fire. So I actually think I'm going to put my theater on the east side of my house up on the deck.
Sounds nice.
It, yeah, it'll be. I mean, if it fits there, if it doesn't fit there, I have some wire deals I could set them on. But anyway, I woke up dreaming about that. Where was I going to put all my pelargoniums so they'd be safer this year? And then let's see, now that I can truly see my back garden, now that I downsized it, hallelujah, I bought more Byzantine glads because Byzantine glads look really good in my garden. They're that bright pink and they bloom
Yes.
at just the right time. And so they're very expensive. So I'm going to just scatter them here and there each year, like I do on a lot of other things. And that's a tip for people. You have to repeat color in the garden.
You do.
It's not look unified. And now that I have more time to think about it, I'm going to get some more. So did that. And let's see, I talked about the wind. It's really bad. I met with a garden coaching client. It's starting to ramp up. I've got another one tomorrow. And then I need to do her follow up email, which should be part of my garden, whatever, but I'll just say it now. And today I am speaking to a class at Heritage Hall School. They're doing a big, huge section on sustainable gardening and
Nice.
nice practices for Oklahoma. And so I have a talk about how hard it is to grow in Oklahoma, and they asked me if I would speak. So we're going to do it by Zoom. And I did my garden coaching client via Zoom too. I'm just about ready to go visit people at their houses,
Uh-huh.
but I want to get past Eastern red cedar season.
I was
Oh,
just thinking cedar pollen. Once
oh,
that's
it kills
gone.
me. Kills me. I don't have trouble with oak pollen. I don't have trouble with any of the other stuff that blooms in the spring here. But boy, that Eastern red cedar is terrible, which I didn't put this in our notes, but it's a piece of really good news. You want to hear it?
I'm gonna guess what it is.
Okay, guess.
Luz came out and took out those 2 male
Not
pollen
yet.
trees. Oh,
No, not yet. But here's the good news. The Oklahoma legislature just passed a law. They had done another law for Western
right,
Oklahoma
right.
about getting rid of Eastern red cedars and devoting some money to that. And they
Yes.
found that all the things the scientists have been telling them were true, which is they suck up too much water. They're a terrible fire hazard. They're pollen horrible and they're invasive. All of that, they showed that it was true. And so they have passed or are going to pass a law that's going to devote money to central and eastern Oklahoma now. Hallelujah. They're going to start cutting those down. And it couldn't happen any sooner because my neighborhood wouldn't have burned down if it weren't for eastern red cedars being 60 foot tall. It
Yeah.
just wouldn't have.
Those are big
They,
trees.
they're big trees and they blow embers 3 miles. 3 miles.
That's a long distance. Now, before we get going on our favorites, I did want
Yeah.
to say that when I spoke to the local master gardener group, there was a woman, and I did not get her name because I'm very bad about that.
Me
And
too.
she listens to our podcast and she says, "How is Dee doing?" She was concerned about you. And I said, "You were doing much better. Thank you very much."
I am much better. I'm on a new medication called Zolair, which is an injectable. And I actually saw my allergist yesterday, who I love, Dr. Tarpey. Love her, Dr. Martha Tarpey, who's just as cute as she can be. We've decided I'm going to do the Zolair at a lower dose 2 times a month to see if it can,
Level things
go
out.
through. Yeah, because right now I'm kind of up and down, but you know what? We're seeing real progress. And she asked me lots of questions. And I told her that we've come up with a great tick brochure for, I didn't do the work. I just helped edit it. But my
Right.
friend Sharon Forsyth did all the work with a couple of other people. And so she said, send that to me. I want to hand it out to my patients. And
Very
I said, I
good.
will send it to you tomorrow. So I've got to do that. Anyway, yeah, I'm doing a whole lot better. And she was really pleased, just pleased all
Good.
the way around. So good
Good.
deal.
Now we can do our favorites. I'll do
Oh,
my
and
favorite
thank you.
first.
I need to say thank you. Thank you for
Oh,
asking. Okay, now do your favorites. You go first.
so it really should be all the pansies and violas that are potted up all over. I have the prettiest blue. I bought blue frizzle sizzle because remember I sent you
Oh,
taunting pictures because you couldn't find it. I walk into the greenhouse, just flats and flats of it. It's just started to bloom. Then when I went back, blueberry thrill, beautiful
oh,
blue.
you've got to take a picture of that. What is Blueberry Thrill? Never
It's
heard
a
of that one.
beautiful,
I'm going to
beautiful.
look it up.
I think that's the name of it, blueberry thrill.
Well, it sounds like it because, yeah, it is. Because, Blueberry Hill, the song.
Right. You're
Oh,
gonna die when you
wow.
see it. It's beautiful.
Wow. They're blue and yellow. They look a lot like, is it blueberry lemonade that they have in Frizzle Sizzle?
It could
Oh,
be.
this is a cicada version. I wonder
Well,
if I
now
could get seeds.
maybe I should change my favorite to blueberry thrill pansies, which are quite beautiful. But I was really going to give shout out
Sorry.
to God and the weather because it has been beautiful all week,
It has
Dee.
here too.
Nice
Yeah,
and
here
cool in the
too.
mornings, getting up to the 70s. Now, that wind in Oklahoma is going to blow something through Indiana in the weekend. So I don't make promises about weekend weather, but gosh almighty, goodness gracious, never thought this day would come. Look at the sun
I know
streaming.
it felt like I know it's here too. I had to move my curtain because it was so bright I couldn't see my screen. So I'm really happy about all the sun too. And I gotta say, the weather here was gorgeous and it just made me happy to be alive, right?
Yes. So, what is your favorite this week?
Well, it's my blue pansies.
Of course
I
it
have
is.
I have 4 different kinds, and I know I talked about them last week, but I don't care. It's still, and the new containers, the blue containers go with the blue pansies. I also bought, did I tell you that I bought a little concrete antique statue?
You did
It's a
not
little,
confess this to me.
it's a little child holding a little thing that would be, like a little cup. You could put birdseed in it or whatever.
Cool.
But it's an antique, and I found it on Facebook Marketplace, and
Is that
yeah,
one of
it came
those,
home with
wasn't a
me.
sketchy place where, Bill's like,
No.
I'm going his backup or anything like that? It wasn't
He did go
sketch.
with me, but it wasn't sketch at all. It was in Edmond. It was La Di Da Land, actually. And she has a
Okay.
lot of concrete stuff. But anyway, what made me think of that was that my friend, special, I want to say special thanks to my friend Teresa at Oak Grove Garden. She is on Instagram, and I want Carol to click on this photo on Instagram. She plants a lot in concrete.
You're asking a
And I
lot of my
want you
little
to look
computer.
at this. You can do it.
It's pulling
Isn't
up
that pretty?
slowly. I haven't seen it yet. It's still pulling up.
Oh, good grief. Your computer, you need a new one, girl.
Oh, that is pretty.
Isn't that
See,
pretty?
I bought the pansies. So she has like phases of pansies. So some like wildly blooming, some starting to bloom, and then the next crop. And I bought the middle crop. So mine are still kind of starting to get going, but they'll transplant better at that phase. But that will, yeah, that's pretty.
Okay, but I want to point out she planted that in the fall. This is in December in a protected place on her porch.
Really, because I see foliage on her rose back there still.
Yeah.
Cool.
So there you go. We did until we had that January freeze, all the roses were not dormant, which is going to go into our question. And then I want to say another great person to follow is Beth Teal. She's in Tulsa and she's been posting about her bulbs in blue and white pots and they're exquisite. But she's cheating and she'll tell you she's cheating. She goes to Walmart and she buys the bulbs before they're blooming and then she sticks them in her blue and white pots and then she enjoys them. I
I'm
think that's a
seeing that.
great thing to do. Enjoy that. You should just,
Yes.
that's what gardening is really about is enjoyment,
It's,
right?
I thought you were going to say that's what gardening's really about is cheating.
Sometimes, sometimes we all cheat because, we can.
What?
So
Anyway,
questions of the week.
we have three, sort of.
Okay. Are you ready? You do one.
So the first one was, can I plant in the ground now? And this one I got on Instagram from somebody, and turns out she's on the south side of Indy, which is same as me. And it's like, yes, you can plant your pansies and violas in the ground. All mine went into pots except leftover violas. I just tuck in the ground here and there. So it is perfectly fine. In another couple of days, as you'll find in my update, I'm going to be sowing seeds for peas and stuff. So for the cool season annuals, because I've also planted snapdragons in the ground, alyssum in the ground, we are good to go.
It's the same here. Now, if you're further south, it's probably past time. And I already did peas. My peas are coming up. I saw them yesterday. Peas, lettuce, chard, just arugula, all the things, that you grow, kale, all of that's fine. Pansies, snapdragons, violas, hellebores. Right now in Oklahoma, you can plant almost any perennial too. I just hold off on tropical milkweed, which I got a question about that today.
I'd hold off on
And
that completely. I wouldn't plant it, but that's
yeah,
me.
I probably wouldn't plant it either. I'm over tropical milkweed. I just do the native one. It smells better anyway, and it's really pretty. Oh, sunflowers, zinnias. I'd wait on those. And please
Oh yeah,
stop.
we're not there
No
yet.
tomatoes yet. Stop. No tomatoes. You can plant tomatoes in your, if you've got lights inside or if you've got a greenhouse, but keep them inside for a little bit. Okay, and then number 2 from Jan in Oklahoma, she had a comment about the best time to take cuttings for Roses of Sharon. Rose of Sharon. So, what do you think?
Well, she said that her friend said her mother took cuttings all the time and just rooted them in water and over and over and over. And she has not had good luck, but she mentioned like summer, fall cuttings. I looked it up and I could have looked it up in my old college textbook, but I think late spring,
Late
just after
spring.
that foliage has come out and greened up nicely, take it. That would be considered a softwood cutting. And then I think you could root it in water, or if you're going to put it in soil, a little rooting hormone would be fine.
Mm-hmm. I'd
So,
probably put it in soil. I think you'd have better luck. And you want to take off all those leaves, except for like the top 2, 3. And then you want to slightly scrape the edge of your stem
right,
because that tells it, hey, let's root. So, and take your cutting above, what's that called? The leaf bud axle. Yeah.
leaf node, the
Thank
leaf node,
you. Leaf
leaf node.
node is good enough. Yeah, take it above there, and then I dip it in rooting hormone and stick it in the soil, and then keep it watered because it's going to take some time.
Right. And
And
she knows all that. She had put a plastic bag over the one that didn't take.
you could try that too. I mean, the best time I think for soft cuttings is usually right in spring when everything's going because it has a lot of hormone in it anyway.
So when you put a
Okay,
link to the rooting hormone that you like, which we
I
will include in
did.
our show notes,
It's a gel.
a gel.
It's a rooting hormone gel. You're right. Yeah,
Okay.
because well, it just sticks onto the stuff better than the
All
powder.
right.
All right, number 3, it's from a text exchange. When to prune roses, because I posted on Instagram that I pruned some roses. And then people asked me, is it time to prune roses? I thought we were supposed to wait till Mother's Day. No, we really should have been pruning roses in Oklahoma back in February. So the tradition was you pruned in February because everything was dormant. But with the way the weather is now, it is crazy up and down all the time. And as you saw from Teresa's picture, serendipitously, that her rose was not dormant in December, right? So my roses didn't go dormant until we had that big freeze come through in January. And even then, they jumped right out of dormancy. So yeah, we're a little late actually, but it takes me a while. I have a lot of roses, so I get them done. If you are worried about the leaves freezing back, well, they're going to freeze back anyway if we have a freeze. It's just the way it
True.
goes.
True.
Don't feed them if you're worried about it. Frankly, I'm just not that worried. I get them all pruned and then I go back and I feed them in mid-March. I just don't
And
worry about it.
the roses that I thought had died in front, I think they're probably going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I am actually going to, that's on my list to get those done in the next couple of days to prune those back.
Because yours are dormant, aren't they?
I'm starting to see little buds pop out. So what's the time?
It's time. It's definitely time. You want to do the next quote?
It's not the next quote, Dia, it's the
It's
first
the
quote.
first quote.
It was one of those March days when the sun shines hot and the wind blows cold, when it is summer in the light and winter in the shade. Charles Dickens' Great Expectations.
We've done that one before, but it's worth it. I think we'll do it every March.
Yeah.
All right, flowers. You did most of the hard work on this. It's C. And then you said C is for, under annuals, calendula and cleome.
Yes, and we talked about calendula on January the 19th or 14th. I looked it up because the National Garden Bureau has declared 2025 to be the year of calendula, so we will move right on to Cleome.
And let me just say before we do that, that I started my calendula seeds indoors early,
Yes.
like into December, and I planted them out last week sometime. Okay, Cleome. What a weird little plant.
Weird and interesting. And I didn't know about Cleome until I went to horticulture school at Purdue, and it was the annual one of the annuals. And the interesting thing I remember about it is it just keeps growing and blooming, and below the flowers you'll see these little
Seed pods.
seed pods
Yeah.
poking out all over. So the first thing we'll say is if you plant Cleome and you don't trim off those seed pods,
You're
you will
gonna have
have
more.
Cleome next year in
Yeah.
that same spot. It does self-sow quite readily.
So back in the old days, when I first started planting Cleome in my garden, you could only get it as seeds, and it was a mix, and the mix was purple, white, and pink.
Yes,
But
and
now
that's
lots of groups have changed, they fixed it so that you can separate them out. And you did 2 of the AAS winners.
yes. Interestingly enough, there's one from 2002 called Sparkler Blush Hybrid,
I've grown it. Mhm.
and it's pretty nice.
It's
And
very
then
nice.
AAS goes back 100 years. So from 1942, let us present Pink Queen, a very, very old Cleome. So if you're into the old stuff,
Mhm.
Pink Queen is your baby, so to speak.
Yeah.
And
Pink
I was going to
Queen.
look I should have looked to see if they had Park Seed has the Cleome Sparkler Blush. And that's the nice thing about the All America site and why we link to it is you can if it's for sale somewhere, they will have links to it. So
Yeah, they do. And I also want to say that Proven Winners came out a few years ago with one that does not produce seed, and it's Senorita Rosalita. And it grows about 3 feet high, and it never forms those seed pods. It just keeps blooming and blooming and blooming because it doesn't form seed. Well, the good news is that you can find it really easy now. They also have Senorita Blanca, but I don't think Blanca did as well. It was white. You can find the pink usually here at Westlake Hardware, Ace Hardware. But you got to know what you're looking for, because when it's in a small 4.5-inch pot, which is that long pot that they use,
right.
it doesn't look like much. And it
No.
often gets kind of smothered by everybody else. And so just keep an eye out for it, along with honey petunias. Those are the 2 things that I definitely still buy every year because I love them so much.
Or do you feel sorry for them because they're not flowering when everybody else is and they're being looked over in the nursery and you're a compassionate person and you say, I'm going to rescue this plant?
No, I just like them. But you know what I do? I stick them in the front.
There you go.
I move them to the front so people will see them.
So there are some perennials, and we could go on and on. You came up with carnations, and then there's Centaurea and catnip. And carnations, people think about dianthus, but when I think about carnations, I think about the florist carnations, the great big tall stems.
Yeah, people still grow those. Yeah, believe it or
Do you
not.
grow them, Dee?
Not anymore. I mean, I've tried a couple of times and I think they're hard to grow here. So, no.
Yeah. Burpee has some, but they will
Hmm.
tell you on their listing that the big, tall, big stem carnations are a specialty crop, and that's not really what you're getting, but you're just getting a bigger flower because the little dianthus, and maybe we'll talk about those next week, is a smaller flower. With the carnations, you're thinking big flowers.
Yeah. And they're in the same family. So there you go. And then Centaurea, you've grown this one. So have I. I've grown it.
I
Several
don't know.
varieties.
I've only grown the one, and it's kind of in a spot. I'm pointing back where it's at, back over there near the pawpaw, and it just kind of comes up, and then I remember that I have it. I'm like,
Hmm.
where and why did I get you? And for gosh sakes, why did I plant you way back here? So I've made a commitment to myself and to the Centaura that when it shows itself again, I will dig it up and move it to where it will get proper attention.
Yeah. And I'll be honest, mine's gone. I mean, I bloomed it. I mean, I grew it for quite a while and then one day it pooped out and I said it's okay, but it just doesn't do much for me, so I don't care about it.
What
All
it
right,
does
and then
do, wait a minute, what it
uh-huh.
does
Oh,
do
I'm
for
sorry.
people, this is a true blue flower. And so
Yeah, it is.
Select Seeds has some seeds for some, and they have one called Blue Diadem. So if you're looking for blue, Centaurea is your flower.
Plant salvia.
D, we're not to the salvias. That's S. We're
Just
trying to
say
promote Centaurea.
if you want blue and you live in Oklahoma, just grow salvia. It's easier.
How about if you
Okay.
want blue and people say, what is that? And you can say, oh, that's my Centaurea.
Okay. All right. And then you came up with another one called catmint, which is nepeta.
Yes, easy peasy in my opinion.
Pretty easy. It'll bloom itself to death here sometimes. And I've grown a bunch of different varieties from, yes, I've grown Walker's Low, which you put in. I grew one called Trudy's Favorite, I think, for a
Yeah.
while. It bloomed itself to death. I don't have the best luck with catmint because it just has such a long season and it can't come back. It's a little bit like that salvia we got from Proven Winners it was pink. I think it was Proven Winners. It might have been somebody else. We had this pink salvia that we both just loved so much and it just bloomed itself to death. Now Carol's making a
Skyscraper
note.
pink.
No, not skyscraper pink. It was a Nemorosa, so it had little bloom stalks and it was
I don't
like
recall.
something rose. I don't remember which one. Okay, so anyway, I should have written that down.
It's in the mint family, and what I find beneficial after the first flush of bloom, if you will shear it back, it'll kind of contain the size. Otherwise, it just becomes a big floppy mess. And
Hmm.
my nephew and his wife at their house, they have some of this along the front walk that goes down to the sidewalk, and so usually, I guess, when do we go? Sometime in early June, I go and help sort of trim things up, and she makes a pass over them to kind of clear them off the sidewalk, and you get a new flush of bloom. They don't like a lot of
So,
water.
no, and maybe I water too much. It could be that. High Country Gardens has it, and they have a bunch of varieties of catmint. So that's a good place to go to get it.
And the other question is, what if you have cats?
They do like it.
They love it.
Hmm.
They get high on it. It's really kind of obscene. They'll wallow around in it because when I first moved here, I had some planted on the garage side of the house over there, and it
Hmm.
would just be flattened in the morning. And I knew it was, cats running in the neighborhood at night were wallowing in it. I'm like, I did
It's
not
not
mean to
really what you
host
wanted.
a cat rave in my side garden.
They do love it. I would not let
Anyway,
Masha in it.
that's
She's
that's
crazy
enough of
anyway.
the C perennials and annuals. And if anybody has any that they thought, well, why didn't you talk about X or Y? Not X or Y, C or C or C, then just leave us a comment. We'll maybe think about it. Quote.
Yeah. The thing about breakthroughs, she discovered, is that sometimes there's a lot of breaking before you get to through. And that's by Jocelyn Live. I think that's true. And I think it's true in gardening.
Yeah.
A lot of my clients don't understand that you have to fail a lot.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Mother Nature
There's a
will send you to the bottom of the class many a time, many a time.
She still does. She still does. So, in vegetables, you brought up, because it is that time of year, cabbage and Chinese cabbage.
So the only thing I know about cabbage is Carol doesn't grow it because of the European cabbage butterflies, those white butterflies. Oh, so pretty. But they will lay eggs at the base of the stem, and
Base,
then
yeah.
the eggs hatch into little green worms. The little green worms crawl up and they eat everything they can. And so I would have to cover with row cover, and that's
You're just
just
not
not
willing
my
to do
deal.
it.
No,
Yeah. I've grown it, and I've grown the Chinese cabbages, just like I've grown Chinese mustard. Yeah, I mean, you have to cover it, period. And you're going to have a few holes anyway, because somebody will sneak through. It does make a good trap crop.
it does. I
Hmm.
I don't know why you need to trap cabbage butterfly larva, but okay.
Maybe they like something else in your garden. I don't know.
I don't know what
Um,
else they go for, but I will say this. The other thing that you can try is they take like the tube out of paper towels, and you cut a little collar, and then
mhm.
you plant and put that little collar around the stem, and supposedly that will keep the butterfly from being able to lay eggs on the stem.
Don't they also use that with copper, with soft copper, like the
Yes, like if you
plating?
had
Yeah,
copper,
because
but
I've seen that before.
Copper's really expensive. I
It
was
is
coming up with
expensive.
a cheap
A cheap
alternative.
version. Yeah, leave
Yeah.
it to me to come up with the expensive one. I've
So
actually seen that done at the OSU Botanic Garden. So,
now, two other things about cabbage. And sometimes I go to the greenhouse and it's like, oh, look at the cabbage seedlings. Maybe I'll just give it a whirl one more time just to be sure. And so
like
I
my
do plant it.
broccoli.
Yeah, I do plant it. I probably don't give it as much room because a cabbage plant, for
They're
having that
huge.
head, yeah, it can be like 3 feet across. And this is one
Mhm.
of those, if you have a long, slow, cool season, like maybe in Alaska or in England, long, cool
Or back
season,
east. Hmm.
back east, they grow. This is one of those competing for the biggest cabbage head.
Remember
Which,
the Victory Garden show?
yes, of course I
He grew
do.
the, I know, he grew the heck out of cabbage. Remember?
Yes, I do remember.
He grew, and he had me so confused because he was on PBS in Oklahoma City, and breathlessly wait every, and I would like go. I was very confused as a young gardener
I
because I was
guess,
watching him and going, I don't, none of that works here, none of it. And then, yeah, as I got better at gardening, I figured
right.
it out. I was a
So
little slow.
here's the thing. We plant it in the spring, and then once it gets hot, you kind of have to pick your cabbage, even if it's not a great big massive head, because in the heat it bolts, sends up the flower stalk, and then it's done.
Mhm.
So some people have better luck planting it in late summer and then going out and harvesting it later in the
In
fall.
winter or fall.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then you probably need to cover it some just because of the weather and the to keep the worst of the chill off of it.
You know, when I was in the CSA, when I was buying Camilla Gamble's CSA,
Yes.
we would occasionally get cabbage in it, but it's hard to grow here. So, it's just not the easiest thing to grow.
No,
So, are
it's
you
not
going
the
to do
easiest
the
thing to.
next quote?
Yes, because it is mine to do. Reading is escape, and the opposite of escape. It's a way to make contact with reality after a day of making things up, and it is a way of making contact with someone else's imagination after a day that's all too real. Nora Ephron.
Great quote. You
It
found that
is.
one.
I
I
did.
really miss Nora Ephron. She was a wonderful writer. For those who don't know, she wrote When Harry Met Sally.
Yes, that famous
She
movie.
also wrote You've Got Mail.
Yes,
She wrote a
also a
bunch
good
of
one.
stuff. And one of my favorite books that she wrote was an autobiography, and it was called I Don't Like My Neck because it was on aging. And it's
Yeah,
a joke.
I
It's
I
kind of a
think I
joke.
I think I read that. I think I had a copy from the library. I don't think I have any of her other books here.
She said that she went to dinner with a bunch of friends and then
Uh-huh.
she realized they all had turtlenecks on.
They didn't like their necks.
Because as you age, your neck is not your best feature. Okay. Oh, I mean, she was funny. On the bookshelf, High Yield, Small Space Organic Gardening, Practical Tips for Growing Your Own Food by Christy. How do we pronounce Christy's last name? I can't
Wilhelmy.
remember. Is it Wilhelmy? I couldn't remember.
Yes.
She's the owner of Garden Nerd, and you are showing the book. And so you wrote Grow Big with No Limits. And I
Well,
read through it.
that's
It's a good
on
book.
her Instagram, or not Instagram.
Oh,
That's on the Amazon listing, the book listing. I
yeah.
read through it too, Dee. I mean, this is a really good book. This has got a lot of great
Well,
information.
she knows how to do this stuff.
She does.
So
Now she lives in Los Angeles,
it's hot there.
California. But I mean, I don't think she does her podcast anymore, but she's on Instagram, has a lot of great tips and everything. But if you want a garden at your home and you don't
Mhm.
have a lot of space, she has a ton of ideas for how to make a really nice garden. And the book touts that she has scientific methods, so there really aren't any limits to what you can do.
Yeah, it's a great book.
It is.
And
Now, what
so it's kind of like French intensive gardening, isn't it?
a little bit, I guess. I don't
Yeah.
know what French intensive gardening is.
You know, what was that? Oh my gosh, I can't think of his name. You'll think of it. You know, the guy who did the small space gardening that has a high yield and they're in 4x4 spaces and he tells you how many that you can plant. We
Square
just
foot
talked
gardening
about it.
with Mel
Thank
Bartholomew.
you. Thank you. I just
You're
couldn't get it out of
welcome.
my head. She has a whole thing on here. I just saw it a second ago. But we just talked about that too because we were talking about cabbages and that they can
Right?
be like 3 feet across. So in a 4 foot by 4 foot space, maybe you could
One.
plant two or one. And so I think it's a really good idea, especially if you're going to grow in containers. I'd see some chard seeds, which are also clusters of seeds, just like beet seeds. If
Yes.
you want to grow vegetables in containers, or if you want to grow them in raised beds, for example, this is a good book for you. It would be good for in ground gardening too, but not that many people grow in ground anymore.
Yeah.
It's easier to grow it in raised beds for lots of reasons. And I just did a whole reel on Instagram about building my raised beds for my
Right. I saw
cut
that.
flowers, but it's the same principle. They're 4x4, which is that small space intensive growing.
I mean, there's really a ton of good information in here. And I think the book comes out in early April. Don't quote me on that. I'll put the date on there when I go check it out. But
Yeah, here's
um,
that thing that shows, see, hexagonal spacing.
yes, hexagonal.
Hexagonal. I
Hexagonal.
didn't say it right.
She's got some really interesting plant lists too, like 10 best crops for kids.
I like it.
I
What
love
page is
that.
that on?
That's on page 143. She's got arugula, cherry tomatoes, cilantro, French breakfast radish, which, by the way, is my favorite radish.
I like it too. I like cherry
Little
bell
fingers
too.
carrot, Mexican sour gherkin cucumbers,
Those are those little
little
cucamelons.
big jelly bean size.
Yes, I ate a cucamelon in England, which is funny.
Pumpkins, potatoes, romaine lettuce, and sugar snap peas. All very good. And then she's got for balconies or patios, 10 best crops. And then 10 best crops for seniors, Dee. That'd be yours truly.
Yes, I am too. I don't know.
I don't know about this list. So top of the list is artichoke.
Maybe in Los Angeles. We just talked about artichokes. How funny.
Yes.
And
Yes.
then asparagus, very easy to grow, lasts a long time.
Yep.
Blueberries, I grow those in pots
I
and they do
don't.
really well. So easy to grow, Carol. You should grow them in pots too.
I
think you
should.
could. Chives, yeah, super easy to grow. In
And I
fact,
would grow my
uncovered mine.
chive in pots because if you don't, then they'll be all over the garden.
Mine are in a corner of the potager and occasionally they reseed, but I eat a lot of those blossoms. So mine don't get a chance to reseed much. Oregano. Okay, so here's the thing about oregano. In Oklahoma, it will take over your garden. So grow it in a pot. Rhubarb, hard to grow in Oklahoma.
Easy
Shallots,
to grow
easy
in
to
Indiana.
grow.
Easy to grow. Every old farmstead had a big stand of rhubarb, Dee.
I'm not saying you can't grow it in Oklahoma. I'm just saying it's not easy. Shallots, easy to grow. Sweet potatoes, easy to grow here.
I think they do okay here. I see people at the farmer's market, like, but they have these huge oversized ones just to kind of like show off. And I'm like, that's not edible.
No, that's not a good one. Sweet potatoes, we already mentioned. Swiss chard, easy to grow. Thyme, easy to grow.
Yeah. So
I
anyway, it's
grow,
good.
it's
She
a good
covers
book.
everything: irrigation, pest control. I'm sorry, I dropped my book. I shouldn't have done that.
Christy knows her stuff.
She does. And so let us say once again the title of this book is High Yield Small Space Organic Gardening. I like the organic gardening part.
Yeah, me
Practical
too.
Tips for Growing Your Own Food by Christy Wilhelmi, owner of Garden Nerd. And we'll put links to bookshop.org and Amazon, and I'll tell you when it comes out because it's a good book. Very good.
Is it my quote again? It
Yeah.
seems. Oh,
Zippy Duke
yeah.
all day.
Okay, here we go. I do not look to others to measure my growth, said the flower. The light finds me just the same. Olivia Ann Rose Clark. Be your own person. Do your own thing.
That's right.
Who else are you going to be? You got to be you,
Exactly.
right? All right, our
Exactly.
dirt. Speaking of being your own person,
Yes.
I found a new show.
You found a new show, and then have you watched all the episodes, Dee?
No, I've only watched the first one. So it's
It's
called, did you watch the rest of them?
I watched all five.
Oh, good Lord. Okay, well, the name of the show is Travels with Agatha Christie, and it's a documentary with David Suchet, who played.
Hercule Poirot.
Yes. And so he traveled to the same locations that Christie traveled with her first husband because the government paid them to travel to promote, was it railroads?
No,
I don't remember.
they were getting ready to do like a British exposition, and they traveled all over
Oh,
to
that's right.
see the impact of Great Britain on all these places, which wasn't so good sometimes. So
No, it was the
it,
Empire. So they
yeah,
went to South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, and Canada, and then she visited Hawaii. And she surfed there, you said. I haven't been to
yeah,
that
she was one of
episode
the
yet.
first women to surf off the coast of Hawaii. They say.
Man, she was impressive. What an impressive person. Okay, so the one I watched was about South Africa. And how do we relate this to gardening? Well, while he was there, David tried Constantia wines, which are a dessert wine.
Yes.
And Constantia, South Africa, was known as being one of the top dessert wine regions until this nasty bug came to came to there and ate their grapes. And it eats the roots, and it's called phylloxera. Phylloxera is a moth, I think, and its grub eats the roots, and it came from America. And you might ask, how do I know this? Because when I was
There's
watching it, I was like, I know this story, but not about South Africa. I know it about Portugal.
because you went to Portugal.
I went to Portugal. I also know it about a region in Germany because I went to that region in Germany on my last trip before I got alpha gal syndrome. And phylloxera, unfortunately, came from the United States. And part of it was because we helped share rootstock. And so we devastated various areas, and we almost devastated port, which is a big dessert wine in
Right.
Portugal. And so they planted olive trees in the places where this thing was, and also a bacteria in the soil. I mean, yeah, it's a bad deal. But the good news is America also had rootstock that was resistant to this creature, phylloxera. And so they sent the rootstock to these various regions. Interestingly, in Germany, instead of planting olives because it's colder, they planted apricot trees.
Cool.
So this region is known for apricots. And when Bill and I were there, we tried this apricot liqueur, which we brought home, and it's amazing. And we also tried this apricot jam that they made that was all made with, beautiful ingredients. And that was really a fun thing on a trip. Of course, I always relate everything to gardening on trips because that's me. and Carol does too. Everywhere we
Yes.
go, everything we
Yes.
do, it all relates to gardening. So I enjoyed the show. Did you like the show?
I did like the show. I mean, I don't quiz me on all 5 episodes because I kind of watched it all in a
Hmm.
day's time, and but it was very interesting, and I enjoyed how they made it, and he talked to people, and there was a certain they didn't always leave things better, the British, than what they
You
found
mean
them.
like Rhodes and Rhodesia, and that was in the
Well,
first episode. That one was kind of hard
they
because I
let's
was
just
also
say
reading that
they
book,
exploited some of the native inhabitants, and so you know
as everyone does when
as
they
everyone does. So
decide to
slowly they're making
conquer.
amends. And so I
Hmm.
think it was in New Zealand, quite a fascinating story in New Zealand, especially. Or
Yeah,
no, maybe it was in Australia, one of those two. But anyway, it's good. And he goes and drives around and sees everything. And it's kind of fun. He's got this old antique camera. So at the end of each segment,
I love it.
he
Yeah.
usually takes a picture of the person that he talked to and then shows a black and white picture of it. And I thought that's really cool.
It was cool. It was, and it shows it with the backdrop of whatever they've talked about. So it's a really fun show to watch. And mine was serendipitous because I was also reading Cry the Beloved Country at the same time, which was written in 1941. And we linked to it on our last show. I finished it, but it was also about South Africa. And so it was just fascinating.
Yes. So anyway, that is a very good documentary to watch, and it is on Amazon on BritBox, and it is Travels with Agatha Christie, and then the Constantina wines. The good news is they have returned. They are
Yep.
growing vines in South Africa again, and they are making that wine once again. So it
And he
has a
said
little
it
bit
was
of a happy
very,
ending.
yeah, and he said it was very floral, which I thought was great. So,
Yes.
and so I would say we're going on to rabbit holes. Oh, wait, you go ahead first and do the quote, and then I'll say what I was going to say.
Strengthening sun, longer days, pussy willow, snowdrops, hellebore, birdsong, sap rising, maple buds swelling, and birds hunting for house all around. John Fortii, the heirloom
And
gardener.
he's right. He's
He is
right.
right. He is right.
So my rabbit hole is really that show and looking up that pest, that garden pest, and thinking about
Right.
how great it is to have traveled so many places and learned so many things. Although I forget more than I used to.
Yeah, don't we all?
So what's your rabbit hole?
So I went to another half price books on the north side of the city. And Dee, and I'm going to hold it up here. I found it says it's a 1904 copy of The
Isn't
Tale
it
of Peter
cute?
Rabbit. $5.
It's adorable.
So I
What a
was
find.
curious, why is this only $5? Shouldn't this be like $100? So I looked up, and this was printed in the United States. And what happened was Beatrix Potter's publisher in the UK did not get the copyright in time. Before
Uh,
then, the Henry Ultimus Company in Philadelphia started producing pirated copies of Peter Rabbit, The Tale of Peter Rabbit, and
mm,
several other stories. And so, what's curious about this is I thought, well, it's from 1904, right?
mhm.
It's probably not from 1904. It's probably from the 19 teens. Because the other thing is, as he made new editions and kept printing and changing the cover, he kept the 1904 date on it. So you can look it up by the cover, and the red spine makes it look pretty sure that's like 1917, still an old book for five
Yeah,
bucks. So
cool.
anyway, that was fun to read about how, she didn't like right now, as soon as you publish a book, you have the copyright. But that was not the case back then. So pirated copies in the United States. And I have one.
Well, and here the copyright expires after, is it 75
75
years?
years.
And in
75
Great
years.
Britain, it does not. And I know
Yes.
this because of my friend who has the Scarlet Pimpernel is her great grandmother or great great aunt, something
Yes.
like that. And she still has the copyright, the family does, for it in the UK, but they don't have it here.
Yeah. And I was going to look up when we were looking up cabbages. I was going to see if there was a picture of Peter Rabbit with cabbages. It's just like, here's the one that everybody remembers
Oh, yeah.
with the
Him in
little,
his coat.
with
Cute.
the carrots and then the little bird sitting on the, I always want a little bird to sit on the handle of my trial or whatever when I'm out there.
Well, you know what? Robins in Great Britain are really friendly, more friendly than they are here.
Yes.
And apparently they do go and sit on various things. So that's drawn from life. That's
Yes,
one trip I missed because right then, our friend Lanny was going up to, and I asked her to go to Beatrix Potter's house. And then I had just been diagnosed, so we had to cancel our trip. She went, though, with a group. She said it was fun, but there wasn't much gardening right there.
So if you're going to have a Peter Rabbit dinner, you could first he ate some lettuces and some French beans, and then he ate some radishes. And of course, then he shows them with the carrots. But, you know, now that'll be a theme supper. I did find a couple of gardening books. I'm going to taunt you with another one, Dee. This one's from 1967.
Oh, Wings of the Meadow. Yeah, it's a monarch.
It's a monarch book of some. It's about butterflies.
Cool.
And then another one that's about drying flowers for arrangements. But for the first time ever, Dee, I found one of my books in the gardening section that I wrote.
Oh, that's a weird feeling, isn't it?
Yeah, and I thought, what? And I
found my book there.
I had signed it, so it was one somebody had bought for me. It did not look like they had even opened the book. And it was sitting on the shelf. So I might have fixed the display. They had some book facing out. And
so you faced yours out?
I faced mine out because I did note that it's only been there since February the 25th. So it's only been there like 3 weeks. So
which book is it?
It was Homegrown and Handpicked, the second one. So it's facing out now unless they fix the display. So, and as per usual, I am on the trail of another lost lady. I'll just say this. We talked about her because she wrote, and I got the copy. It's not going to tempt you. She's the one that wrote the other book on geraniums that I told you about.
Yes, I want those books.
And then Begonias for American Homes and Gardens by Helen.
I like begonias too.
Helen's who I'm looking for. Found out she is from Germany. She was born in Germany, came to the United States. Her third book is on shell art, making flower and pictures from seashells.
That was a thing for a while.
Yeah. So anyway, I'll have more about her. Let's talk about our garden commissions.
Mine is, I've got to find my nasturtium seeds. I got them out to plant them indoors and didn't do it. And then they got lost. And I have no idea where they are. So I hope I find them because I want to go put them in the ground. And then I also need to start mulching the back garden and the borders around the house. I'm going to do that on Monday because the wind is supposed to calm down after today. And then clean out all of my pots. If I get all that done, I'm a busy girl. I also kind of need to start my tomato and pepper seedlings, plants.
Yeah,
indoors.
make a note to yourself, Dee. I'm going to wait a couple of weeks. Look, you got your seeds there.
Because we talked about them, that one day.
Right.
So pick and pop, yellow pepper, red impact. I grew that last year. It was okay. Wildcat's one of my favorites, though. I like it.
So I'm going to tend to my pansies and violas. I'm going to plant peas on the 17th. It gets warm enough. Possibly some radishes, lettuces, etc. Got to get that all sorted. I'm going to cut back some more perennials. And then I do need to start some onion seeds inside.
You haven't started your onion seeds
No,
yet?
I'm just way
I planted
behind.
mine out last week, my little seedlings. They're tiny, but...
Yes, I kept thinking I need to find some red onion seeds. And finally, at the greenhouse, she had some onion sets. So I bought red onion sets. But I definitely want to start seeds for the spring onions, the tender little ones, whatever they're called.
The green onions.
Green onions. Saturday, tomorrow, I think I'm going to go to a garden fair just down the road in another county.
Oh, that one you were invited to, right?
Yeah, I'm just going to go check it out because they have pansies for sale.
Because they have pansies.
I'm going to post about Garden Bloggers Bloom Day today, so that post will be up, and I'll put a link in the newsletter. And if you post about your blooms, I'll put a link in the newsletter.
I think I will post about it. I've got to do that talk this afternoon, and I also have to write an email from a client, but I'll do my best.
Plus, I picked up some empty seed packets and instructions to donate seeds to the seed library. And I looked at my seed stash, and I think I've got, they recommend 20 seeds per packet. And it's like, I'm going to donate some okra. You don't need 20 okra seeds. You need 10. You don't need 20.
Right.
So I'm going to donate some seeds to the seed library, I think, and maybe take those in next week. But, spring is sprung. It's getting busy, and I got to get that backyard in shape for the world's greatest family Easter egg hunt.
There you go.
I do, because everybody's coming. Even my little great nephews from New Orleans are coming.
That's exciting. You know what? For St. Patrick's Day, we're actually going to celebrate it the weekend after. We used to do corned beef. Obviously not going to do that. But I
Corned
found
fish, corned chicken.
No, corned emu.
Corned emu. Nice.
We're going to do that. Emu. They've already corned it for me. All I got to do is throw it in the crock pot with some vegetables and make some soda bread. And then I'm going to grill chicken for some of the people that are like, to the emu.
Yeah.
Emu is very good, by the way. So is ostrich.
I would guess so. Anyway, I think that's enough for this episode. I'm going to wrap us up.
Okay.
Thank you for listening to The Garden Angelist. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a single episode. We publish every week on Wednesdays at 12 a.m. Eastern Time.
If you subscribe to our free newsletter, you'll get a link to listen to the podcast a whole day early and links to the products we discuss. Some of these are affiliate links.
And if you want to help support us, use those affiliate links. If you buy something after clicking through on them, we earn a small commission and it costs you nothing.
Or you can set up a monthly subscription through Buzzsprout or make a one-time donation through PayPal.
Thank you to everyone who has done so. It helps us pay for podcast hosting.
It was lovely to chat with all of you over the Garden Gate. Bye until next week.
Bye, everybody.